Hello, my name is Ralf Friedrichs. I'm an addiction recovery coach and the host of the Take Your Life Back Today show. As an addiction recovery coach, I want to share something with you, and let me be crystal clear to leave an everlasting impact upon you. Just imagine being buried alive. You're in the coffin, but you know you're not dead. You don't know how to get out of the coffin. You try lifting a lid. The enormous weight upon the lid prevents you from opening it. You try banging on the lid to maybe unsettle the dirt that's upon the lid, and maybe somebody might dig their way down to help you. This is what it's like to find yourself at the lowest point of alcohol and drug addiction. You know you need help. You know you can't do it on your own, but you don't know where to turn. In reality, there are people standing by your grave. You just don't know that. You just think you're going to die. Usually, though, people don't think about death when they're habitually abusing drugs and alcohol. In order to feed an addiction, you have to be great at repressing the fear of death. I often ask you, my audience, did it ever cross your mind that while you were abusing drugs and alcohol, that you might take your own life away? That you will take something that God gave you away from yourself? And if that's not selfish enough, think about this. You'll be taking away something from the people that love and count on you most. People like your mother, your father, brother, sister, husband, wife, children, grandchildren. With this, let me leave one last thought. Don't be like the person that I'm talking about on these index cards that went to their grave without getting any help whatsoever. Instead, just pick up the phone and call people like me at 844-405-HELP, and I promise you, I will help you take your life back. For your life is gone. And there are other people like me. Larry Geis, over 30 years experience as a life coach and addiction recovery coach, can help you also. You can call him at 516-458-2741 or www.odysseyconsultant.org. Larry Geis and I always tell folks like you, it doesn't matter where you came from, it doesn't matter where you've been. What matters most is that you are here for a better today and a brighter tomorrow. Call Larry at 516-458-2741 or www.odysseyconsultant.org. Folks, don't forget, at night, take your slippers off. Instead of just leaving at the edge of your bed, stick them under your bed. That way in the morning when you wake up, you'll go on your knees and retrieve those slippers. You have to look under your bed now, and you got to reach out and pull them out. While you're on your knees, use that as your personal time with God. Utilize knee-mail, K-N-E-E mail, to shout out to God and say, God, thank you for a home and clothing and a family. I ask you for mercy and forgiveness. I ask you for guidance and direction. God, I thank you for letting me wake up and see the beautiful stream behind me this morning and the waterfall, because there's someone in the world that didn't get a chance to wake up. Utilize knee-mail each and every morning while retrieving your slippers. After you put your slippers on, stand straight up, pull your shoulders back, stick your chest out, and walk with God 24/7. Today's subject is drug trafficking, kidnapping, fund, Al-Qaeda and ISIS. Al-Qaeda and ISIS, many other branches and groups are mostly funded by international crime. Terrorists are sustained by international drug trafficking and kidnapping. People, states, groups that fund terrorism must be identified, assets frozen, and we must clamp down on these folks. Rachel Ehrenfeld is a terror finance scholar and author of the Funding Evil book. She is director of the American Center for Democracy, a non-profit organization that monitors global and domestic free speech issues. Her initiative led to the passage of Rachel's Law in New York and the Federal Speech Act, which protects American writers and publishers from enforcement of foreign libel judgments. Al-Qaeda might suffer from initial setbacks from Osama bin Laden's death, but so did Apple Incorporated when shares dropped over rumors of Steve Jobs' illness. But it did not take long to realize that Jobs has established a highly functional corporation that shares and bounced back. So is Al-Qaeda and ISIS. When somebody important gets killed or dies, they bounce right back because their infrastructure is so well organized. The same can be expected from both of those groups, Al-Qaeda and ISIS. The Jihad organization has changed since it was established in Afghanistan in 1988 by bin Laden and Palestinian Sheikh Abdul Yusuf Assam. Al-Qaeda Central has developed several branches and has inspired many other radical Islamic organizations, each with its own independent resources. Most rely heavily on a variety of illegal activities, ranging from drug trafficking to kidnapping for ransom, often in association with international criminal syndicates. The Al-Qaeda is the Islamic Maghreb terrorist group, for example, that has sustained itself since 2003 primarily on revenues derived from business of hostage taken, mostly Westerners, us. It also engages in drug trafficking and receives some donations from other organizations. The Maghreb group kidnaps for ransom business, especially in North America, generates many millions of dollars through that method. The problem has become so prevalent that in September, Britain's Foreign Secretary William Hague called on the UN Security Council to urgently act to prevent the practice of kidnap ransoms. The UN Security Council expressed its concern, reminding member states to prevent terrorist financing, but it did not address the payment of ransom for kidnapping. The illegal drug business, mostly Afghan heroin, has been a bountiful financial resource for the Taliban, Al-Qaeda, and ISIS. Also some other affiliates in Pakistan, Central Asia, Africa, and Latin America. Al-Qaeda and ISIS bankroll what is next for their next terrorist activities. Pakistan reacts to bin Laden news. I hope it's their name we speak. In January 2010, a Drug Enforcement Administration official revealed that the Al-Qaeda groups in Western Africa were charging protection fees from cocaine drug trafficking groups affiliated with Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia, otherwise known as FARC. West Africa countries and criminal organizations have been used for years by the Colombians to transfer drugs to Europe. Al-Qaeda involvement with drug trafficking organizations in South America has been documented since the early 1990s. More recently, terrorist groups' operatives have been linked to Mexican drug cartels, providing the terrorists easy access into the United States. Then there are the Saudis, who funded Al-Qaeda from the beginning. WikiLeaks reported November 28 that a cable from the State Department in December 2009 complained that the Saudi donors remain the primary financiers of Sunni militant groups like Al-Qaeda. The cable confirmed that that very little has changed since former Undersecretary of Treasury for Financial Terrorism Intelligence Stuart Levy's testimony before Congress in 2006. On terrorist financing, there has been a real lag between what the Saudis say they were going to do and what they really do. Pakistani police reported in 2009 that Saudi Arabia's charities continue to fund Al-Qaeda, the Taliban, and Pakistan's Lashkar-e-Taiba. The report said that the Saudis gave $15 million to jihadists, including those responsible for suicide attacks in Pakistan and the death of former Pakistani Prime Minister Benazir Bhutto. In May 2010, Baratha News Agency, an independent news group in Iraq, reported on leaked Saudi intelligence documents showing continued Saudi governmental support for Al-Qaeda in Iraq in the form of cash, weapons in 2009. Levy told the Senate Banking Committee about the concerns over deep pocket donors and the abuse of charities to fund militants. Is money leaving Saudi Arabia to fund terrorism abroad? Yes, he was quoted as saying, undoubtedly some of that money is going to Iraq and feeding into the Taliban and ISIS. And it's going to Southeast Asia, and it's going to any other place where there are terrorists harboring themselves. An article in May 31st, 2010 edition of the Sunday Times in London revealed that the Afghan Financial Intelligence Unit reported that since 2006, at least 1.5 billion from Saudi Arabia was smuggled into Afghanistan, heading most probably to the Taliban. However, a portion of that money was withheld by Al-Qaeda on its way to Afghanistan through Pakistani tribal area, especially through North Waziristan, known as Al-Qaeda's heartland. On April 25th, a WikiLeaks report revealed that a corrupt Afghan official who ended up in Guantanamo transferred British funds for the opium eradication in Afghanistan to Al-Qaeda. Rising opium and heroin prices and increased production in Afghanistan, combined with the corrupted Afghan officials, all but guarantees the drug revenues as well as coalition aid and development funds will end up with Al-Qaeda or ISIS. To stop funding of Al-Qaeda and ISIS and the Taliban, radical Islamic organizations and other terrorist groups, it's time for the U.S. government to publicly identify a list to everyone, individual organizations, states, engaged in funding terrorism directly and indirectly, including those who finance the spread of radical Islam. They should also be designated as terrorists, prosecuted whenever possible, and their assets should be frozen immediately. On the drug front, the U.S. government has the means to severely curtail the cultivation of opium, poppy, the cocoa bush, and cannabis. The U.S. must complete research on mycorrhizicides, specialized in bioherbicide agents designed to inoculate the soil against the growth of certain plants, ensuring that the targeted plants cannot be cultivated. In Afghanistan, we must subsidize the cultivation of alternative crops to the poppy. Bin Laden is dead, we all know that, but his jihadist disciples are alive, and we all know that too by today's actions, ready to avenge his death anytime, any place. Those who funded him and other radical Islam groups have not changed either. While bin Laden's death is likely to affect Al-Qaeda Central, it did nothing to quench the radical Islamic mission to fight for the establishment of Islamic supremacy. On Saturday, I'm going to be doing a live phone interview, and we're going to talk about ISIS, North Korea, Iran, Iraq. We're going to talk about Al-Qaeda, Pakistan, and India. So I want you to stay tuned, because that will be published sometime at Saturday afternoon. I hope to God that this segment gave you a glimpse of how bad the terrorism is out there, and how it's being funded by the import and export by drugs. Folks, have a great day, but more importantly, have a sober day. May God bless you.